Let's face it, we've all heard some of Jesus' teachings, and they've probably been taught in churches for centuries. But how many of us actually put them into practice in our everyday lives? Let's find out what the top 10 lessons from Jesus are that most people ignore. And if you do decide to follow them, make sure to stick around until the end, because there's a special bonus waiting just for you. And now, without further ado, let's get started at number 10, love your enemies. Have you ever met someone who hated someone who did something bad to them years ago and still holds on to that anger today? Well, that's exactly what Jesus didn't want his disciples to do when he said, "You have heard that it was said, 'Love your neighbors and hate your enemies.' But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Matthew 5:44. Why? Because when we hold on to grudges and anger, it eats away at us from the inside. But when we forgive, we set ourselves free from that burden. In fact, there's even science to back up the benefits of forgiveness. A study published in the Journal of Graduate Medical Education found that patients who forgave their caregivers had lower blood pressure and were more likely to report being in excellent health than those who didn't forgive. So next time someone wrongs you, remember Jesus' words and try to see things from their perspective before you react. At number 9, humility over pride. Who do you think would be sitting at the most important table, the VIPs or the waiters? You guessed it, the VIPs. But when Jesus spoke to his disciples about humility, he told them to make no mistake, the teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in the Moses seat in the synagogues and in the marketplaces. So you must be careful to do everything they tell you, but do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. Matthew 23:2-3. Even though he wanted them to learn from the teachers, he also warned them against imitating their pride. So why does pride do so much damage? Well, it creates a wall between us and others, preventing us from truly connecting with them. It makes us feel like we're better than everyone else and that we don't need anyone. This attitude can lead to feelings of isolation and loneliness, even when we're surrounded by people. But when we practice humility, we break down that wall and build bridges to others. We become more open, honest, and vulnerable, which leads to deeper, more meaningful connections. And you don't have to look far to find examples of humility in action. Take, for example, Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison for fighting against apartheid in South Africa. When he finally became president, he could have easily held on to his anger and bitterness. But instead, he showed remarkable humility, extending forgiveness to those who had imprisoned him, and his commitment to serving all South Africans, regardless of race. His humility and grace played a key role in South Africa's transition to democracy, and his legacy continues to inspire people around the world to embrace forgiveness and understanding. At number 8, true wealth is not in money. In today's world, it seems like everyone is obsessed with making money. But Jesus had some strong words for those who put money ahead of everything else. He said, "Beware of the love of money, for it is through this love of money that all kinds of evil are generated. For what a person's whole life is made up of is not where that person's life ends." Luke 12:15. But what does Jesus mean by this? Well, he knew that chasing wealth can consume a person's whole life and prevent them from living a life of faith and service to others. So if money doesn't bring happiness, then what does? According to a study published in the Journal of Positive Psychology, spending money on others rather than on ourselves can increase our happiness levels. By helping others and showing kindness, we create positive emotions and strengthen our bonds with others, which ultimately leads to a greater sense of well-being. So the next time you're tempted to put your focus solely on making more money, remember Jesus' words and consider how you can use your wealth to help others and make a positive impact on the world around you. At number 7, faith over fear. Imagine being in the middle of a raging storm on a tiny boat. You feel like everything is out of control and you might not make it through alive. That's exactly how the disciples felt when they were caught in a violent storm on the Sea of Galilee. But what happened next was something they never expected, and he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Hush, be still." And the wind died down, and it became perfectly calm. Matthew 8:26. Jesus calmed the storm and taught his disciples that they shouldn't be afraid. You see, fear can paralyze us and prevent us from taking action towards our goals. But when we have faith in ourselves and our abilities, we can overcome any obstacle. So if you're struggling to achieve your goals, it may be because fear is holding you back. But with faith, we can find the courage we need to take risks and pursue our dreams. At number 6, serve others selflessly. If you've ever read Cinderella, you'll remember how she and her stepsisters were getting ready for the royal ball. While they were trying on dresses, one of the stepsisters cut off part of her foot to make the shoe fit. Similarly, sometimes we're willing to do almost anything to achieve our goals, even if it means hurting others. But Jesus taught us that true greatness comes from serving others, not from putting ourselves first. He said, "But it will not be so with the King of the Gentiles. For all the people of the King of the Gentiles lord it over them and exercise authority over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wants to become great among you shall be your servant." Matthew 20:25-27. Being selfless means putting the needs of others before our own and helping them without expecting anything in return. It's a powerful way to connect with others and build meaningful relationships. At number 5, words matter. In today's world, it can be easy to get carried away with our words, whether we're venting on social media or engaging in heated debates. But Jesus reminded us that our words have power. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. The words of the mouth indeed are small, but their power is great beyond all control. Matthew 12:36-37. Every day we have the opportunity to speak words that uplift and encourage others, or we can choose to speak words that tear down and discourage them. Our words can be a source of healing or destruction. So remember, our words reflect our character and values. So choose to speak words that build up and inspire others, and avoid speaking negatively or judgmentally. At number 4, worry less, trust more. Worry is a natural human response to uncertainty and fear. However, excessive worry can be detrimental to our mental and physical health. In fact, according to the American Institute of Stress, chronic worry is associated with various health problems, including anxiety disorders, depression, and even physical ailments like high blood pressure. But Jesus taught us that we shouldn't worry because he has a plan for us. He said, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they are?" Matthew 6:26. Instead of worrying, we should trust that everything will work out for the best and have faith that God is in control. At number 3, judge less, love more. When we judge others, we assume that we know everything about them and their situation. However, this can be a harmful and counterproductive way of thinking. Jesus taught us to approach others with understanding and compassion. He said, "Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but don't consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, 'Let me remove that speck from your eye,' while the plank is in your own eye? You hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." Matthew 7:1-2. When we focus on judging others, we miss out on the opportunity to connect with them on a deeper level and show them love and compassion. But when we approach others with empathy and understanding, we can build stronger relationships and create a more positive impact on their lives. At number 2, take action, not just words. In Matthew 7:21, Jesus says, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father in heaven." So just saying you believe in him isn't enough. You have to put your faith into action and follow his teachings. After all, faith without action is dead. But when we take action and start following his teachings, we can experience the transformative power of our faith. So if you want to make a real difference in the world, it's time to stop just talking about it and start taking action. At number 1, the power of unconditional love. In John 13:34-35, Jesus says, "A new commandment I give you, that you love one another. As I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this, all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." Love is the most powerful force in the universe. And when we choose to love unconditionally, we become like Jesus, who showed us what it means to love everyone, even our enemies. When we love unconditionally, we break down the walls that divide us and build bridges of understanding and compassion. But most importantly, when we follow Jesus' teachings and show love to others, we become his disciples and share in his mission to make the world a better place. And now we come to the closing scene of this amazing journey through the life of Jesus and his invaluable lessons. Along the way, we've discovered the profound teachings he shared, which have the power to transform our lives and bring us closer to him. Now it's time to take a moment to reflect on the 10 powerful lessons we've learned and ask yourself which ones resonate with you the most. Which teachings have you found particularly inspiring or helpful in your journey of faith and personal growth? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Before we part ways, we invite you to show your support by liking this video. And if you haven't already, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey, and may the Spirit of Jesus Christ guide and bless you on your path.